speaking of strategy and tactics, he said strategy and tactics are really important to understand. The fact that we don't is why we are not stopping the attacks. So that was Philip P. Haney. There's a little talk he gave a couple of years ago. We'll see how long this stays up. Draining the Swamp, Philip P. Haney, 41 views. Little talk recorded May 31, 2017 at Godspeak Calvary Chapel. And this was after the San Bernardino stuff. Speaking of that, in the Tablighi Jabant network, guess what? There were informants, weren't there? There was FBI presence. Oh, yeah. Always. And, should we talk about that? Speaking of bizarre coincidences that just don't happen, the entire campus was newly wired for sound, basically, with cameras everywhere, except where the alleged attackers managed to, shoot up a conference room. Remember the second story, folks? Oh, is this another drill? What is it? Is it, no, it's live? Oh. Is it another drill? Because we've had a lot of drills lately. Folks allegedly traveling to places and things, of course. Places. Let's go to the phones. We'll get back to some of this stuff here in a second. To the phones, JP in Chicago, thanks for calling. Welcome.
Hey, Chris, I just had to compliment you, man. You're hitting on all four pistons today, and expert shot, man. I love your material.
Well,
are you familiar with? Oh, sorry, there's a little bit of delay. What'd you say?
Yeah, I wish we were all a little more savvy, I guess.
Are you familiar with Executive Order 11110?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's where I believe it all goes back to. I had some relatives that were G-men. One of my direct ancestors was part of the Untouchables. It was Barney. And another one worked on counterterrorism during 9/11. I don't want to mention their names for obvious reasons, but one thing that happened right around when JFK was assassinated, the Federal Reserve pretty much took control of everything. I mean, people argue they had control back in 1913, with the creation of it. But I think when they killed the president, or whoever did, I mean, we don't know exactly if it was one shooter, two or three, but who was behind it is a big question. But it all goes back to that executive order. And I actually have one of those silver certificates that Kennedy issued. I have a $5 silver certificate, and it literally took out, if you look in the center left, it says Federal Reserve note, bank, it's like a bank note, a debt instrument. He changed it to a silver certificate, which gave it value. And ever since then, that shadow government has been running things. So you really can't blame the guys. Like Barney, for example, after he was done with Capone, they sent him to the Treasury, but he was working, with the McCarthy era against the communists. He was infiltrating them. He was, like an agent going in there, getting the subversives like the Weather Underground guys and all that. But something above him, above his pay grade, put a stop to it. And it's the same thing happened with 9/11. Jack was trying to go after the counterterrorism. Well, Mueller at the top shut him down. So there might be good guys in the intelligence agencies, but at the top, the head of the snake is what controls them all.
Well, and, again, I mentioned recently, gosh, what does his name keep escaping? John Stockwell. Stockwell basically said that he was stonewalled from the top. There was a certain firewall, and you get this far and you get no further. You're really not going to get any traction. As far as Executive Order 11110 is concerned, it's an interesting discussion. And I remember, G. Edward Griffin has done the kind of the the I don't know, emblematic debunking of that, so to speak. James Corbett did a piece back in 2011 titled Patriot Mythology. I think he updated it recently. One of the things he talked about was G. Edward Griffin's addressing of the discussion, and I know James has talked about that from time to time, including an entry back in 2017 titled G. Edward Griffin Debunks the JFK/Fed Myth. I am sort of on the fence about it. I understand Griffin's reasoning. I'm not entirely convinced that I agree. And, so I don't know. I mean, it's just for folks listening, it's something to maybe look into. And I like I said, I understand the reasoning, but I mean, like I said earlier in today's broadcast, there's no question historically, even the Oracle illusion Wikipedia entry agrees that basically McGeorge Bundy or, Harriman through Bundy was running Vietnam, and JFK kept basically saying, you guys are doing this behind my back. And that was a common theme, whether it was Cuba or Vietnam or whatever else. This is what this contingent does, and that's why I was headed to the 40 committee, because that's what the 40 committee does. These guys, handful of guys say this is what we're going to do. They do it in secret. They have this little, well, it's been authorized. We gave ourselves permission to do this, so we're going to do all this stuff, all this covert action stuff, dirty tricks, assassinations. It's all totally sanctioned. So anyway.
Well, that's where the term conspiracy theory came from, was after JFK. And they used that as a chill effect in a way, just to freeze people from, looking in that direction, like, oh, that's a conspiracy theory. Oh, don't believe those wackos, And look at all the men that were killed.
Memo 1035-960. Yep.
I'll have to look that one up. But look at all the men that died. 1967. Look at all the men that died around that investigation. I mean, you got active FBI guys that were probably whacked.
Yeah.
And it's like the Clintons, you get Arkansas-sided if you go in that direction. But I think that's, if you look at where we went right after that, Johnson, who had stocks in Huey helicopters, took us right into a full blown-out war with Vietnam, with the Tonkin false flag.
Well,
and then
John Judge talked about that. John Judge's mom worked in the Pentagon. She was a number cruncher in the Pentagon, and she was charged with the duty of forecasting casualties, I guess, and as if memory serves. And the way that John Judge told the story was JFK intended to pull out of Vietnam, and obviously, like I said, you have guys like Harriman and Bundy running Vietnam behind his back, and so he's assassinated, and by Monday, according to John Judge, the forecast was adjusted. I think it was Johnson himself, if memory serves, who was instrumental in saying that we're not pulling out of Vietnam, and the forecast was for 40,000 casualties. I think I heard John Judge say at one point 40,000, and somewhere around 56 or 57,000 at some other point. So anyway,
they're pretty close. They're pretty accurate. 60,000 at the end.
Yeah.
At least our guys. We killed over 1 million, and I study a lot of those battles in ROTC. But back to the Kennedy, where it goes, the rabbit hole goes so deep from there. And you just look where we're at today, you kind of see the same thing with 9/11. And then now we got this big agri business. You touched on that before, and I remember in my undergrad class in UW, we had this big agricultural teacher that was pushing, the new age, which was GMOs, which was just starting at that time, the turn of the century. And I was a little rebellious at the time, so I did a PowerPoint presentation on the problems with pesticide, because I used to see it, in my hunting land up there, up north. I'd see what the pesticide would do to birds. It's killing 20,000 birds a year. Had a lot of carcinogens in it. And if you trace it back to these companies in Vietnam, Agent Orange, all those are, I can't remember, Monsanto. Monsanto's the evil corporation that kind of is behind all that. But she gave me a D in the class because she didn't like the truth. Basically, I was just showing how it's killing people. But the thing now with the new stuff is they're putting the poison in the genome. And it's interesting. If you see the corn out, the critters used to eat, like raccoons and deers. They used to go in there and eat the corn. They won't even touch this new corn now. And, it's too with, I have a German Shepherd, and some of this new corn-based GMO food, he won't touch. He'll sniff it and walk away. So if the critters aren't eating it, why are we eating it? That's my question.
Yeah. Indeed.
But that's the kind of stuff that gets you a D. You don't really go up the corporate ladder when you buck the system like that.
Yep. Indeed.
But what do you think about this coronavirus, man? There's, it's the little research I did on it. It definitely seems like a bioweapon, and if you're into the Book of Revelations, it's very similar, I think, to the first Horseman, the white horseman, which has a crown. Crown is in Spanish is corona, is crown, and the only horseman and the four horsemen that has a crown is the first one. And there's a lot of different interpretations on it, but obviously it brings death to the earth, and that I believe that it's possible that either this is a replication of what they want it to be, or it actually is the first horseman apocalypse.
A lot less time.